Shalom everyone. Yesterday I've uploaded a video about the hive mind, but the sound was blocked. And I've decided to make another video. I'm going to keep it very short here. In nature, you see bees gathering around what we call a hive. And what basically happens is those group of bees, they go to flowers and they gather nectar. Nectar is a kind of flower that is a kind of, how do I say it? It's a kind of small dust the flowers are producing. So they gather the nectar and they come to the hive and they place the nectar into those small holes, and in doing so they generate what we call honey. Now honey is used by bees as food for the winter period. Okay? So honey is their food basically for when they can't go outside anymore. And what you notice about the beehives is that all the bees together, they call it a colony, they all work together to get the nectar. And often each bee has their own hole that they are filling with nectar. And you often have a queen bee, as they call it, that's a central bee figure around that. I won't say it's the leader, but she's a central bee figure for whom the other bees are gathering the nectar and generating the honey. The thing is, folks, when you check this phenomena of the hive and also about honey, it reflects something that often happens in human communities. You see? Let me just say it very quickly. When people talk about the hive mind, they're basically talking about a collective. I'm going to say that moment. They're talking about a collective confusion that attaches all individuals in that community to a certain mindset, to a certain way of thinking. And the hive mind, what it basically does is it robs the individuals of their individuality. Or let me say it different like this. When you have a hive mind somewhere, people become emotionally attached and emotionally stuck at a certain goal or a certain purpose or a certain way of viewing things. And this way of thinking, let me say this being stuck is basically a spell that's upon all those people. And through traumatization and reinforcing images and music, people are kept into that mindset. And people that are under this confusion, they're not aware of it. Why? Because the images and the music and the traumas all together, they are enforcing this way of thinking upon that individual soul. So when the individual begins to think and feel in harmony with this narrative, they think it's them themselves liking it and choosing to be that way. But it's not. And of course, there are individual creatures, but they don't act as individual creatures anymore. They're basically stuck in a program, in a cycle. That's what a hive mind is. And you see, guys, the hive mind is how the world operates. You see? In a hive mind, there's no place for individuality. In a hive mind, there's no place for freedom, nor freedom of speech, nor freedom of expression. Why? Because in order for the spell, let me say the hive mind is a spell itself, in order for the spell to remain active, the imagery, the music, and the traumas should be repeated over and over again. And this is done by rituals. Rituals are designed to enforce the hive mind upon the people of a certain group. You see? And the thing is, when people that are under this spell, they don't think. They're so emotionally attached that they just don't think. You see, the only time their mind becomes active is when some information enters them that is not in line with the spell. That's why, for example, you have in certain cults, you have cult members that are financially exploited, yet they defend the cult leader. Or you can have men in abusive relationships where their wives are beating them, but they just can just defend their wives all the time and they took the blame for them being abused. The other way around also, you have women in abusive marriages, yet they keep on defending their abusive husbands. Or you may have, for example, you may have in a community where um, where crime often happens, where human trafficking happens. There are obviously things wrong in that society, but people keep defending the society. This beehive over here. You see? The thing is, the hive mind is like the Stockholm Syndrome. If you don't know what the Stockholm Syndrome is, look it up. I want you to look it up. It's based upon a kidnapping case that happened in Stockholm, I believe it was in the 1970s. You had people robbing a bank, a few bank robbers, and they took people captive. When the police came and liberated those people, many, not all, but many of the former hostages began to defend their hostage takers, and even in court, they began to make appeals in their favor. And Sweden was shocked by what happened. Also, the rest of the world that witnessed this via the news were shocked at what happened. You see, yeah, this is happening all the time because that's what the hive mind is. The hive mind will, let me say, it will make you. I won't say it would make you because you don't have another option. It will make you because you're blind to see that you do have other options. The hive mind, that spell, will make you defend what's taking you captive. You see, it's like this, what you see here. Here you have the hive, you have the bees inside of it, and it's totally stuck. You see, you have the honey inside. The honey is very sweet, and because the honey is sweet and they enjoy the honey that their labor produced, that's why they don't want to go outside of the hive. The hive becomes everything they have. And even that's a lie because there's more out there. But see, that's also what's happening, what happens to, to politics and to societies, and also to economics. Why do you have so many people buying a lot of products they don't need? For example, you can have some people they have Jordan shoes or they have a certain Nike shoes. Then within 6 months, another shoe of the same brand comes out. They buy that shoe also. Or you have certain jackets or certain styles that are basically changing every 3 months. And every 3 months, those people they use the money that they've basically earned with their labor to purchase those new clothes, while they already have a wardrobe filled with clothes at home. Or you have people that every time a new iPhone model comes out, they buy the newest iPhone, even though they already have an iPhone. Some of them have 5 iPhones already. You see? What's going on here, guys? Or like, for example, you have people that always want to go to the club, to the next party, to see what's going on. You see? Even though they already went to almost 40 parties within less than 6 months, you see, because they are partying hardy all the time, they still want to go to the next party, You see, it's a hive mind. You see, and I want to warn you here. Most people are hive-minded. Most people, when it comes to it, they don't think. They only want the honey. You see, and what does the honey represent symbolically? From the love of the world, worldly promises. Like if you get that amount of money, you will have a better life. If you marry that man, you will have a great life. You won't be hurt anymore. Or if you have that woman, you're the man. You see, those kind of stuff. People are after the honey. That's what fame is all about. Also, fame, worldly status. I mean, and having a good reputation. All of those things are a part of the hive mind, where people are basically allowing themselves to be mentally, emotionally, and physically exploited just to get a bit of this sweet promise that don't really exist. So that's why you have people, they want to make it in life, and they sacrifice their health and their social life for it. And once they achieve the title or the amount of money, now they realize, hold on a minute, is this it? This is nothing. And then they realize it's really an illusion. You see? And then they become frustrated and they become sociopathic, you name it. You see, the Lord wants us free from the hive mind so that we can have the mind of Christ. You see? That being said, you all, there's more I can say about the hive mind, but this basically sums it up. Well, that being said, you all, may the grace of Christ Jesus be with you, and Shabbat Shalom for those that celebrate the Shabbat. See ya.